Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the CEO Corner. My name is Tiffany Bell. I am your host, and I am so excited to be able to bring you another really exciting episode. I want to go straight into it and introduce you all to a good friend and mentor of mine. Her name is Miss Sharmin Prince. Sharmin is a speaker, thought leader, and coach whose motto is resilience, healing, and recovery. She is most proud of her self discovery program that she created in 2020. This program is a personal internal journey to find what lies at our core. So, welcome with me, Miss Sharman Prince.
Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you for having me. Thank you
Oh,
for
man.
inviting me to this platform. And what a warm welcome. Thank you so much.
Honestly, it is my pleasure to have you here. For those of you who are not aware, Miss Sharman is one of the contributing authors in our Affirmations for a Journal, Affirmations for a Woman on the Mood Journal, right? And so we'll talk a little bit about that later on, but my initial introduction to her happened in September of 2021. I was hosting the Nonprofit CEO Summit, and she was one of the registrants. And so, sometime during the course of the summit, she reached out to me by email, and I gave her a call, and we just connected very quickly. And so, she's grown to be a really good friend of mine, a mentor. She has a heart of gold. So I am very glad to have her here and to have you share, with our listeners, with our audience, some of your wisdom. And she has a lot, mind you, a good bit of wisdom. So again, I love her. You know how you meet some people and you just, there's not just the instant connection, but there's just, something deeper. I think, more of a, just an instant love. And that's just really how I felt from the very first conversation that we had. And, her willingness, honestly, to come on and help me in regard to the nonprofit consulting that I do on the side. And so again, Miss Sharman, I've talked enough. I want them to hear a little bit about you. Tell our audience a little bit about Sharman Prince.
So, thank you so much, Tiffany. I am Sharmin Prince, and I hail from the beautiful country of Guyana in South America. Now, Guyana is the only English speaking country in South America. So, usually people get it mixed up between Guyana and Ghana. So, I'm from Guyana.
I did. I
You're
did. I don't know if I ever
forgiven,
said
and
that to
any
you.
one of you out there who makes the same mistake, you're forgiven because geography and history was not most of us our favorite courses, right? So I am from Guyana. I'm the fifth of six children, and my mother made five girls and one boy. I have one brother who has been the constant male figure in my life. Um, Yes, that constant male figure. And as a little girl, when you're growing up and you see your brother in your head, you said, one day I want to marry someone like my brother, kind and gentle, and loving and caring. So I migrated to the United States in 1991. At that time, I had a degree in psychology, and I migrated at age 33. And I always wanted to go into the US Army. Um, in my little
Really?
mind back in Guyana, yeah, I was a part of it's equivalent to the ROTC here. So I entered the US Army at age 33, the cutoff age. But
Okay.
Um, and I maybe was the oldest person in my platoon at that time, and the oldest person in the battalion at that time, because if I was aware of ageism, I would have sued the army because when I got to AIT, I I kid you not, on a daily basis, I was stop and ask about my age. Why did you
Oh
wait so
wow.
late? But it was a dream of mine that was fulfilled and it was off the bucket list. But God had a plan because that's where I fell in love with Charmin at
Okay.
age
Okay.
33 in
Okay.
the
All
midst
right.
of the challenges in the army, battling with self-image, battling with self-confidence, battling with your imposter syndrome, battling with self-sabotage, battling with everything that surfaced because of the environment.
Okay.
And
All right.
as you look at yourself and you look at the environment, um, I didn't have a choice but to fall in love with me. And I fell in love with me. Um, and not to continue on with that story, I was able to get out after 9 months.
Oh
And
wow. Really?
yes,
Okay.
yes. Because of ACE, which is adverse childhood experiences.
Mhm.
That's when I learned in the army. I learned that I had PTSD. Didn't know. Lived all my life with PTSD, its signs and its symptoms, and it was accepted as normal. Or oh, she's moody. In because I'm from a third world country, and mental health or mental illness or emotional and psychological affects of adverse childhood experiences are not a major aspect of our lives. It's something
Okay.
happened to you. You build the resilience.
Mhm.
You become courageous, face it, and move on and forget it, and continue with your life.
We've
So
talked about a lot over the few months. I had no idea. No idea. And again, y'all, whenever she and I connect, we don't just connect on business. We talk about quite a few personal things. So I'm really like I'm on the edge of my seat, for the story, even though I know time wise I couldn't, we can't cover the whole thing. But just know that when we meet next week, I'm gonna ask the rest of the story. But continue on for the time being, like because I know you're headed somewhere. I'm assuming that this is the birth of the your program that I mentioned earlier. Like all of this, all of where you're at now is because of this season of life. And so yes, I'm all
yes,
ears.
yes. And so within the army, it birthed something with that self-love. I i began to really become present with Charmin, and look at Charmin for who she is and what she possesses, because I'm in an environment and I'm surrounded by younger people, but I'm stronger physically. I did one our final platoon test twice because I was the only female that could have done it twice. And it boosted my self confidence. It boosted something in me that I never knew that was there. And once I got out, I remember my mentor saying to me, I had applied for a case manager job, and she
Mhm.
said to me, I think that's too much for you. I said, no, I can handle it. And within 11 months, I was promoted and thus catapulted my social service career, where I spent 18 years, 5 months in the same organization in 5 different positions. I entered as a case manager and left as a director of program services. Um, so the
Sounds like time well
nonprofit
spent.
world is all I know, or most of what I know, and my personal experiences in life.
Okay, all right. So I want to go back to some of the words that you use, as far as imposter syndrome, self sabotage, and resilience. So again, part of my heart in creating the journal was that. So let me back up. Um, I have journaled not daily, but definitely weekly for the past 15 years, right? And so the journaling has helped me to, self-examine, reflect. It has helped me to focus. And honestly, as I get older, my memory just isn't what it used to be. So it's good to have that journal to go back, to remember some of the highlights of my life, right? And so, again, as you talk, and you're mentioning, the word resilience, and those that against self sabotage and against um, imposter syndrome. How do you how did you work, and how did you work, right? And then how do you work to maintain or to kind of keep that at bay? Like how did your resilience work against those two or work alongside of those?
So it took me, and I would say I'm still on that journey of overcoming, because ever so often the imposter syndrome steps in. You're not good enough, and you have to understand that our self saboteur, our imposter syndrome, all lies in our primary socialization. And I teach about that in my program. And our primary socialization, instead of birth to present, I actually go to conception. How were we conceived? In what kind of condition? So
Mm,
um, and some of us have been rejected from conception as opposed to birth.
mm,
So the imposter syndrome has deep roots in our childhood. And
mm,
once I was able to go back there and uproot some experience, some effects of experiences that I've had, it helped me to use my resilience. And I believe in the power of affirmation. I believe in the power of self talk, because to counter every one negative self talk that you heard, you have to maybe repeat 10 million of that of an affirmation to erase that,
mm,
because once you hear it and you believe it and you act it out, it becomes ingrained in you. And so it takes a lot of work um, to overcome your self-saboteur, and it to overcome your imposter syndrome. And you know what, I think it's Pastor A.R. Bernard, or someone that I used as a mentor in the past, said that you should enhance your strengths
mhm,
so that it can overshadow your weaknesses. So my resilience is, um, I think, my strongest characteristic. So I
mhm,
use that ever so often when my saboteur decides to step in, or my imposter syndrome decides to step in. I remember something that I overcame, and that promoted my resilience, and I counter it. Hey, my imposter syndrome stepped in before the show.
Oh, I love it. 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 Okay, so um, whenever again you talked about uprooting or getting to the root, when people work alongside of you, when you sit down and if people are going through your course, kind of talk a little bit about how you guide them into recognizing what the root is.
So my course, it's not one on one. My course, it's group. I love the group approach
Hmm.
because um I did most of my healing in isolation. And I, yeah, in isolation, and you can say with God. but I know that not everyone have the fortitude, the resilience to do that.
Mhm.
So I tried it in a group setting, and it's extremely effective in a group setting because there is support, and you realize that you're not alone.
Yep. Yes.
um,
Yes.
you have there others like you, and so you can hold hand with each other and heal in
And celebrate
community
each other.
and celebrate each other, because a lot of time we our wounds occur in community, and we choose to heal in isolation. So it's in community. And one of the things that we do, we have something that is called thought clouding.
Mhm.
And thought clouding is some steps that we use to get to the root of maybe a belief system. And I usually share a scenario, and it never fails. The first idea that pops into someone's head is a perception of judgment.
Okay.
And when and when you trace that simple being judgmental, and you would be surprised how being judgmental affects a lot of areas of our lives. And we trace it back to the who, the when, the how, the what, the where, and get to the root of it. And um, scenarios with adults, and discussions that we overheard as children cause us to create belief system that affects us even today, and cause the self-saboteur and the imposter to manifest itself more often than we desire.
Wow. 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 Okay, so thought clouding. So when you say thought clouding, my vision for that is, so for me, two things come to mind when I think of thought clouding. One, under stress, or when I'm under a good bit of stress, or I have a lot of worry on me, it is difficult for me to see anything other than the worry. It's almost as if, like I am surrounded by clouds and I cannot see anything but the problem. Nothing else exists in that moment aside from that. Now, again, I don't, when you say thought clouding, is it the thing that they're focusing on, or is it the result, or is it more of not being able to, like having, like brain fog? Kind of talk, help me to understand with
Okay.
thought clouding just a little bit more.
So thought clouding is a process.
Okay.
Um, and I wouldn't say it's a problem solving
Okay.
process, but it's a root finding process.
Okay.
So um,
Mm,
some persons may have a behavior that affects everyone.
okay.
And where did you learn to behave this way? And when did you learn that? And how did you learn that? And who? And as we peel through the layers of those simple questions, we get to the root of the first time you create the belief system that empowers you to behave in that manner,
hmm
or the thing that someone said that caused you to think that you are in the right to act the way that you're acting, or to think the way that you're thinking, or to react to whatever the stimuli is.
How do you deal with? Okay, so what if you just really cannot remember where it started? How do you process if you really, you can only remember, maybe 2 years ago, but but honestly, like you said, most of this is probably stuff that really kind of might be, it may be connected to childhood, some of the thinking patterns. But for some people who may not have that like depth of memory, long term memory shot, how do they process? How would you advise them?
So just process your why. What triggers the behavior? What caused
Mhm.
you to behave? What, because it's everything has cause and effect. So
Okay.
what is the cause? What caused you to act the way you act? What caused you to have this social, emotional, psychological, or whatever deficiency? And what can you do to correct it? Just like when we have a physiological deficiency, we take supplements. So what supplement can you introduce to your emotional or psychological life or social life to change, to cause a change or to bring about transformation?
Okay, okay, all right, got it. So earlier you referenced, basically it's the rehearsing of the truth 1 million times in order to replace, whatever it is, whatever lie or whatever, whatever principle that they've lived by for however long that's negative and replacing that. So again, that brings us back to the affirmation journal, which I love. Share with our audience. The affirmation that you included in the affirmation for a woman on a mission. And then not just share the affirmation, but, talk to your heart, like speak to her heart on, how did that affirmation apply to your life? And then how can she use it in order to be able to move forward?
Okay. So my affirmation, I give myself permission to be whole. And I will be honest and vulnerable with myself. And in my introduction, I mentioned the United States Army. And it was during that time I give myself permission to be whole. I didn't know what was self love. I read about self esteem. I read about inferiority complex. It was at that time. And so I had to develop the the resilience, the fortitude, the strength, the courage that is needed to be whole. And there are a lot of things in our lives that we have to give ourselves permission to do because of what we were taught, because of what I said earlier, what occurred in our primary and secondary socialization. So I want to encourage you to give yourself permission to be whole. And you are a tripartite being. You have spirit, soul, and body. And most of the things that happen to you in life affects the soul, which is your mind, your thinking, your will, your decision making, how you make decision, and your emotions, your feelings. So your soul needs to be whole in order for you to connect with God. So give yourself permission to be whole. And when you give yourself permission to be whole, God takes the rest because you will begin the process of healing the soul, healing the mind, reorganizing the things that you hold in your personal storage. Also, healing the emotions, the things that happen to you so that you can be whole. And the other part of the affirmation, I will be honest and vulnerable with myself. A lot of times, and it most times when we do that, if that was a coping skill for us, we tell ourselves things that makes us comfortable for that time or helps us to process whatever is happening in our lives, to process the journey or the season that we're in. And you may have to be honest and vulnerable with yourself about your season, because you may be in a winter and you're trying to make it into summer or make it into spring, but you can't change the season of your life. So you need to be honest and you need to be vulnerable with yourself. And when you begin to live that way and you begin to embrace it, after giving yourself permission and you begin to be honest and vulnerable with you, opportunities open up itself. Your authenticity comes out, and people can connect with who you are authentically, and you can also give to the world your authenticity. So it starts with being whole and being honest and being vulnerable with who you are. And you can only do that if you take time with you, because no one can tell you about you other than you. You have to learn you. Yes, persons from the outside can tell you what they see and tell you how you make them feel, and you have to listen to that because you are affecting someone, and you cannot live in isolation. So my affirmation again is, I give myself permission to be whole, and I will be honest and vulnerable with myself. Um, you can find me on www.sharminprince.com. Again, that's www.sharminprince.com. And that's what I do in my personal life, personally, and but also I'm the founder of Eagles Empowered to Soar, a nonprofit organization that provides support to those affected by the effects of poverty. Um, and we also work with survivors and victims of gender-based violence. We just launched Orange 365, which is a man's perspective, a support system for men, where men can come and talk anything gender-based violence. And also we have the Standpipe, a place for women, a safe space for women to share their hearts if they desire. Um, and the website for Eagles Empowered to Soar is www.eaglessoars.com. Again, www.eagles, I'm sorry, plural, soars.com. Um, and thank you, thank you, thank you,
Um,
thank you.
Miss Sharman, again, like you're a dear sweetheart. So I want to make sure that you guys know, she knows what she's talking about. In between, the time that we met in September and today, we've had plenty of heart to hearts, and so she's helped me a good bit as far as my own personal, self discovery journey to healing. So, she comes highly recommended. Definitely follow the website eaglesoar.com, or reach out to her again, as she mentioned before, charminprince.com, so that you can, connect and have a conversation. You just never know what work can be done in your own heart when you connect with people that have had that have already gone down the journey that can help you with your process as well. So with that, I want to make sure that I invite you all to take part in our affirmation journal. Again, Ms. Sharmin Prince is one of 39 women that have contributed to the journal. So when you get it's 76 days of affirmations, right? And so when you open it up, for every day that there is. Let me make sure I turn to the right page. So, when you open it up, you'll see on the screen that there's an affirmation. There's a short little, talk about that affirmation, and then you have pages, for you to be able to journal your thoughts, journal your journey towards changing the way that you think, towards setting your heart in a specific direction and sticking to it. It'll help in your journey in identifying false lies, lies that you've told yourself over the years, right? But being able to intentionally shift the way that you think, as she said earlier, it takes intentionality. It's not something that can be done overnight. It definitely takes time, but the more you work at it, the more you'll begin to see a difference, in your choices, in the way that you think, which is obviously going to affect the choices that you make. And of course, as you make different choices, you will have better outcomes. So for sure, once you pick up a copy of this, you can go to uncommoncourage.cc /affirm women. Again, uncommoncourage.cc /affirm women. You can buy it from the website, or you can reach out directly to Ms. Sharmin Prince, sharminprince.com, and connect with her, and then she can also make sure you get a copy as well. So with that, again, Ms. Sharmin, thank you for today. Thank you for coming on and again just sharing your wisdom, sharing your heart. Love being able to learn something new about you. Your journey to me is amazing, and I look forward to growing and learning more about you in the future. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, again, we appreciate the time that you guys take to tune in with us each week. And so be sure to be on the lookout for our next broadcast. My name again is Tiffany Bell. I'm your host for the CEO Corner, and we will see you next time around. Take care.